Fairview Park. I may have had some of your students if you had older students. I was Mrs. Shayrock and Ms. Resch and Mrs. Spooner at various times during my tenure here. But I taught middle school English and Language Arts and Science and high school English Language Arts and Science. I was a swim coach here. I was a technology integration specialist for 5 years. I worked with middle school and high school teachers. I worked with our special ed staff. A good part of my life was spent in this space. And so when I had the opportunity to come back and share out what I've learned over the past few years about our new standards and our assessments with this community, I took that opportunity to give back to the community because this community has given so much to me professionally. So I'm glad to be here with you tonight. So I am a parent, I am an educator, I'm currently a curriculum director. But most importantly, for the past 2 years, I have been an active part of the process of adopting our new learning standards in our state and contributing to those standards. I've been an active part of developing our new assessments for science, social studies, math, and English language arts from the get-go. And I can talk to you directly about that process and my friends who just got back from Texas where they were doing item and form review. So I think I can address some of your questions personally because I've done the work. It's taken a lot of time. It was time away from my family. It meant doing a lot of late evenings, doing double duty, working my job, and working towards our new standards and assessments at night. But I thought it was work worth doing, and standards worth teaching to. In 2010, when the state of Ohio adopted their new learning standards for English, math, science, social studies, fine arts, and physical education and world languages, I was still teaching here in Fairview Park. And so I worked with the English team at that point to take a look at what did these new standards, what were they looking like, what did they look like in comparison to what we had. We have participated as an English team in providing feedback to the state of Ohio Department of Education about the draft version of those standards. So we have seen the draft version and we have worked together on them. And so that spring we sat down together and started to look at what is this going to take in terms of instructional system at classroom, what kinds of learning will our students be doing. And we like those standards. I was teaching science too. And the state science standards, which were developed here in Ohio by Ohio science people, are awesome because I went from a set of science standards where I was teaching a 9th grade physical science class that had no exaggeration, 85 standards that I was supposed to be teaching in that class, and to a set of standards that made sense and were very focused and rigorous and challenging for my kids in science and were manageable. And I could actually help my students master science and not just cover science. I felt the same about my English language arts standards when we started to look at them. It was a much more focused set of standards. They made sense to my students, they made sense to me as a teacher, and it would allow us as teachers to spend more time building skills for our students and not just covering skills for our students. So I've been involved in this work from the beginning. I'm currently involved in the work besides my curriculum director position. I am the chairman of the Ohio Educator Leader Cadre. There are 25 of us that are working around the state. We work directly with the Department of Education here in Ohio and the teacher leaders across the PARCC Consortium on the Math and English Language Arts test. I'm also the chairman of the committee in the PARCC Consortium that is building out speaking and listening tools for our students from the ground up. And it's been very fascinating work. So I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of classroom experience, and I've learned a lot about standards and assessments. And so I brought some information to share with you tonight. As my slide says, well, it did say, I really got this evening to be a conversation. And I know you have questions, or you may have concerns, or maybe you've got some highlights you want to talk about. That's great. So as we spend time together tonight, I want to make sure that we have a chance to deal with your questions and your concerns. And I'm more than happy to do that. So here's how you can get in touch with me. My email address is char.shayrock@spaceschoolsohio.org. That's my work address. I am on Twitter. I'm @EdTechGirl. And my website is iteachbay.blogspot.com, and I've created a parent tab just for parent and community members, where I will start to put resources to share with you, and I'll show you how to find that website.